The Pacific Northwest has so much to offer, and one of the true gems is Portland and the surrounding area of the Cascades. It is stunning. It is a beautiful morning here. The temperature's just about to hit 70 degrees. It is beautiful conditions to go racing, and that's what we're about to do for the 7th round of the TC America Touring Car Championship Chase. There's a look at our starting grid as the field getting ready to head out with 2 formation laps, and then we go racing for 40 minutes. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine. And Calvin, that front row, a sweep for Rooster Hull Racing, and for that orange or yellow BMW on the right of the screen, very special. This is Steve Strymer's home track.
Yeah, he always goes well here. A lot of confidence coming back here. Great result for this team. We're trying to rebound a little bit from a difficult weekend at Sonoma. Johan Schwartz, we were talking about the championship being over with a 36-point lead over Toby Grahovic, and then suddenly there's a big swing. That lead is now cut to 10, so gets everyone refocused a little bit in that Schwartz camp.
Yeah, incredibly close, as you said, in terms of points, incredibly close in terms of time on the grid, Ryan.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, Greg. Exactly right. Johan Schwartz did take pole by a considerable margin, but 2nd through 6th, just 0.3 of a second separating those drivers. We should be in for a great battle a little bit further back in the pack.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question of that. And I just need to point out that Tom Capizzi hit his stride at Sonoma. And that one race, Cal, he fended off no less than 2016 Touring Car champion Toby Grahovic. And he said it was the weekend of racing that he's ever had. He really put it together. He promptly goes out, gets his best qualifying effort here with a 2nd row, 4th place start. He has been on form. I think he's going to be fun to watch in that Capizzi Home Development BMW.
Yeah, very much so, and that's what racing can do. You get a strong result, you believe in yourself, you find a sweet spot with the setup, but certainly Tom is on form right now. Led the qualifying session for a little bit yesterday before some of the others put in hot laps towards the end.
And he's got some mighty quick people that he'll be dealing with. Of course, we saw Robert Nimkoff, his teammate in the Autotechnic racing team. Robert put in a great run at Sonoma as well. Paul Terry's back after missing Sonoma. Always quick. Chandler Hull, Sonoma winner Cameron Evans, both of them running for the Copart BMW team. Sean Webster, who had that huge debut in that hard motorsport BMW, that beautiful gray and blue machine, had that great run in the first race, had a good run going in the second race, and then he and Capizzi, he got into Capizzi coming up the hill, ended up on his roof. They did a deal with Classic BMW. He is back. I was talking to him, and he said, I'm a little frustrated because we went so well at Sonoma, a track I know immensely well. We come here, we're down the order a little bit. He goes, but I have to confess, he said, the car had Toby's setup on it. And he said, Toby is all about glass smooth driving. He said, I tend to throw it around a little bit, and the car's not responding. He said, overnight, might just throw the Sonoma setup on it. It wouldn't be great for this track necessarily, but it's better for me, and then we'll start tweaking from there. So it's going to be fun to see what Sean's going to do from 11th on the grid.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easier to adjust the car than it is adjust your driving style, which you've developed over many years. So a little bit of transition needed between yesterday and today to move him a little bit further up the order, but I'm sure he'll be giving it 1,000,000%.
You bet. Want to welcome Peter Atwater in the new light BMW 240R IR Cup machine, the number 66. Nice to have him on the grid here for this race. And it's going to be interesting to see the car that Mark Brumman normally runs was going to be run by Eric Powell here. Brumman switching to a different car. That Nissan, they've been chasing a few issues in it. And he said he just wanted to have a good run here this weekend, so he's moved over to one of the Tech Sport BMWs at this stage. But yeah, again, for Steve Strymer and the Strymer sheet metal entry, really looking forward to this this home weekend event. He was able to stay with Johan for a good chunk of those races. He's not out of this one by any stretch.
No, and they'll obviously, they're on the same team, so sure they've had a lot of discussion about how to control this start and not get into each other. It's a very difficult first turn here. It's great for racing, great overtaking opportunities, but on relatively cold tires, if anyone dives down to the inside here, there is potential for some contact. So you know those front row starters from the same team will be trying to control that and eliminate any issues from behind. But Toby Grahovic is one of the most experienced drivers in this field. He'll line up 3rd on the inside slot of row 2. And you wouldn't expect any surprise moves from Toby down into that first corner.
Yeah, he's fully understandable of big picture thinking and understands that the festival, as they call it, the festival curves here, often the festival is a little bit too exciting. Look here at that, there was the festival curve. Now you're into this 4.485, and it just keeps tightening up, and you've almost got to set up for turn 5 as you enter 4, don't you?
You do. It's all about compromising and you know, sacrificing a little bit of exit room to set up for the next one. The real key corner is how you get through turn 6. You don't want to be running wide through 6 and really compromise that critical turn 7 to get the exit from 7 onto the back straightaway. This is turn 7. It's been reprofiled, as you can see. A lot more wide open. Does create some opportunities to dive down the inside, but still quite tricky to clinch the move and seal the deal.
And then this long run, it's a slightly bending back straight, but it is absolutely flat chat. And then down into the 10-11 chicane. And then another crucial corner you got to get through. You don't want to be all out of shape coming through the turn 11 chicane. And that 10-11 is wicked quick. And if you get it wrong and you're sliding and drifting, you're just slow through 12. And it compromises your run down that long front straight. So lights out on our Acura safety and pace vehicle. So we are going to be going green. Again, 40 minutes timed event here for this 7th round of the TC America Touring Car Championship. Rooster Hall BMWs on the front row. A lot of those BMWs here. So this is a great turnkey car. There's got a couple of guys out there, those Nissans that are plenty quick as well. Here we go. Field onto the front straight. You're not supposed to even show more than a headlight until that green flag flies. Once it does, racing throughout the field. Johan bringing them up very cleanly. Green flag, and we are racing. And a great start. Looks like Grahovic may have got a little bit of a run on Streimer.
Looks like he has. He's down to the inside. He really has to take a big move down there from about row 4.
I think that could have been Chandler Hull.
The Bimmerworld entries.
Yep. Trying to do something early and was no contact. Everybody through the festival curves. That's step 1 here.
Paul Terry, a nice move from 6 on the grid. He's up early into that 4th position in the Nissan, breaking that BMW stranglehold. They had the top 5 positions on the grid. Terry, good early moves here.
Early moves, you see him working it hard, sawing at the wheel just a little bit. That Nissan has been struggling with some braking issues, and they recently got another big move.
That's
down
what
to
turn 7
yeah.
does, Greg. It looks very inviting and wide open, but certainly when you come off the corner, very easy to get fender to fender.
That's Nimkoff looking racy in the early going here as well. There is Johan Schwartz, who has certainly been the guy so far this season. But for that DQ in that first race in Sonoma, as you pointed out, would have a huge point lead. It's a lot closer now. But he did what he needed to do and showed up here and was able to put it right back on the pole. Terry, right there, is putting on a huge attack here, looking inside, outside of Streimer and trying to take the move. If he can stay put, he's got the inside for the second part. Oh, big curb hop. Nice job, I thought, by Streimer, recognizing better to let him go than to have contact.
Yeah, it really was. They actually gave each other just enough respect there. It looked like it was going to get ugly for a moment. Capizzi there looking for a way through. Then comes Hull. Chandler Hull in the 94 cars had a nice start to this race as well. But Terry making some early moves, and look how quickly he's gapped.
Yes.
Streimer there.
Well, as I was saying about the brakes in that car, they've really struggled with the ABS, and they got a new twin brake master cylinder format. Has been approved and homologated, and they said, you know, oftentimes the ABS would just feel numb. You really couldn't tell what the braking was doing. And they said, this is a fix, and obviously it just happened, so they haven't had a lot of time to test it. But if you have struggles with brakes, that's just a confidence sapper.
Oh, it's huge, and he's been having major issues with that. Spoke to Vesko Kozarov, who kind of leads the technical direction for that team, and he said, we tried all sorts of things. We took away some of the power assist with the braking system, not disconnecting the ABS. The ABS is still active, but taking that away, we're now back to what should be a normal setup. As you said, some new parts have been homologated, and I think once he gets the confidence back in that race car, he'll get the consistency back, and the results will come as well.
Yeah, he's never been lacking in terms of pace. He's always been quick. Chandler Hull looking real racy. He was just absolutely on form at VIR. Struggled a little bit at Sonoma, that 94 there, that blue and white Copart BMW entry, but has some really, really good speed. It was aggressive on the start, now starting to work over Capizzi a little bit in that 52. That white BMW, the Capizzi Home Development Auto Technic car. There is Terry. In the Paul Terry trucking entry, chased by Strymer. Oh, big off in the back just a little bit. I think that's Cameron Evans. No, it's Chandler. Chandler Hull tried to do something there in turn 6. Got it all wrong, Cal. That's going to cost him 3-4 spots.
Yeah, and this is that sector through there. I mean, if you get off-road, the road is turning away from you and you can't get the grip, obviously, out in the dirt. You go for a wild ride. Got to get those tires cleaned back up before you get to this fast section right here, 10 and 11. Terry, little twitch there from the Nissan.
Notice they have some of those bollards, for lack of a better term, the little pipe things that are sticking up, and a couple of them have found their way onto the track as a result of some close quarters racing. Here comes Terry, but I'll tell you right now, Schwartz and Grahovic, they've gapped everybody at the front. Schwartz about a second over Grahovic. And then
Grahovic has pace, Greg. He's only a 10th off Schwartz's fast lap. There you see, I'm not sure if there's a little elbow there. Elbows were certainly out there between the BMWs. Not sure if he took a bump or just got a little bit wide offline. Not quite the grip level there. And as I said, the corner is continuing to turn as you're asking for grip.
I think he'd already lost a couple of spots. I think he had a problem probably in turn 5 and ended up dropping a couple of spots and then ended up forced off track. So I think that started well before that corner in terms of his, he may just have been freight trained a little bit.
Interesting to see the cars come through this sector here, sector 2. Different lines can be developed through those long radius corners. It's really just looking at your data on your screen and seeing what it's given to you in terms of the lap time.
So the number 82 now of Evans, the team car in that Copart Bimmer World entry, takes a look at the inside. Don't want to do that going into the chicane unless you're already clear, but he's starting to pressure Capizzi.
Coming off that big win, of course, so he'll have a lot of confidence coming in this race weekend. And it's difficult to do anything with the speed. Even if you got off turn 7 quickly, you come around that curving back straightaway. Tough to get the position inside before you turn in that high-speed entry for turn 10 and 11. So tough to do anything with it. It's a real chess match at this circuit.
Grahovic has trimmed the margin to Schwartz. Big lock up there with a 23. And that is the one of the other Nissan 370s from Techsport. That's Joseph Federal.
Didn't want to give it up. Good battle into the break zone.
Oh, and Hull under attack by Mosey Uretsky in the orange and white entry. That's the Murillo BMW. And he had to check up big time, and that's allowed Sean Webster to come up behind him right there in that green, white, and blue. It says Hard Motorsport along the side, BMW. Again, late agreement with Classic BMW to field that car, so he'd have something to run here.
A lot cooler conditions this weekend than we had here last year. It was touching triple digits last year, so this is a big respite not only for the drives but also for these machines in terms of going into any of those fail-safe modes.
Oh
big
boy, Cal, it looked like it was 3 abreast heading into the chicane. But looks like everybody sorted it out, but yeah, that had a lot of potential for ugly on it, didn't it?
Schwartz and Grahovic have just taken off here from Terry, who's into the nice podium spot right now, 3rd in the Nissan 370Z, but not running the lap times that the leaders are capable of. About a second delta between Terry and what Schwartz and Grahovic have run so far today.
And behind them, you've got the Capizzi, Evans, and Nimkoff battle. These 3 cars right there for the 5th spot. Having a good run, then a little gap behind them to Federal, a recovering Hull, and Brummond, Uretsky, that group.
Grahovic is really keeping Johan honest here today. Gap now down to 0.7 as Grahovic has now run the fastest lap of the race at a 122.6.
That's important.
It really is. And Schwartz will be saying, what have I got to do to shake him off here today?
Well, it's one thing we were talking about. We were talking about the setup on the Webster car that they got from Classic BMW. Toby is very, very smooth. He gets his speed. You never see that car hanging out too much and the like. And we know Johan's a drift king. I mean, if he's got to throw it around, he certainly can. But Toby is just absolutely a precision behind the wheel. And that certainly has its benefits in terms of tire deg. This isn't a track that's really that hard on tires, though, is it?
No, it's sort of medium grip. I was talking to a number of the drivers how you describe it. They say there's a lot more grip than Sonoma, which is a low grip racetrack. So this got a bit more grip level, which means the tire deg is not going to be such a factor. It's a lot cooler today, so the tires are not going to get overheated. But being smooth, this racetrack will really pay dividends, particularly through this first sector. So let's look to see here if Grahovic can close in on Johan through this sector here.
He just improved his fastest lap to a 22.6, and that margin is down to a car length right now. So Toby's there.
He is, and Johan knows it. Having the speed, though, and making the move is another matter. Johan's so much experience now, really on top of his game. But they realizes that this championship has taken on a totally different complexion. It goes from a 36-point lead to a 10-point lead. There's a 7-point swing between first and second, so if Toby could get by him, I'd make it a 3-point margin.
Well, I think these two up front are doing something very smart, too. You don't see Toby doing anything in terms of attack. And in that last lap alone, they opened up over a 1.5 seconds on Terry Streimer and that group. That margin now is up to almost 6 seconds, Cal. I think these two are just going mano a mano, building as big a margin as they can. And we get into the last 10 minutes, I think this is when this is going to get real interesting.
Absolutely, it's going to be a fun one to watch. He's got to stay right with him, though. He can't let that gap to blow back out again. Pretty equal there on the last lap, both running 22.8, only a couple of tenths off their best of the day.
You know, you see the margin now up to 7.5 from Grahovic back to Paul Terry. So these two guys right now kind of in their own world, aren't they?
It's going to be a chess match. Toby, not super aggressive driver. I wouldn't classify him as someone who just really goes for it. So he'll sort of like weigh up the odds before he makes any moves for the lead on Schwartz, you would think.
And Terry got through on Streimer, but Streimer has not let him go, and in fact now has closed it back up to that car length margin. I'm looking in the background, and I'd seen that on the scoring monitor that Evans had got by Capizzi, but Nimkov has gone by both of them. Wow, that was a great last couple of laps for Robert Nimkov in the Auto Technic number 20. Went from 7th to 5th. There he is in front of Evans. That was stellar.
Nice, coming off a nice podium run at Sonoma, Nimkov. So Auto Technique Racing, really nice team. Put out a great product for their customers here. And Streimer will probably be ruined the fact that he had a pretty average first lap here. He's allowed Terry to get around him, and he's watched his teammate Schwartz and Grahovic take off in the distance.
Well, in the last couple of laps, his lap times have been 2 to 3 tenths quicker than Terry. So he's got some speed. And I mentioned the Streimer sheet metal, but also Johnson Air Products and Handel's Ice Cream. He said we could just give them a shout. They're local companies that really support me and certainly deserve it. Here's that battle for the lead again. It's down to nothing. And Grahovic again improves his lap, Cal. Fast lap to a 22.58.
Yeah, his car looks really hooked up. What I like to see is the way he can carve those corners. Johan's having to use a lot more of the road, kind of flowing his way through this sector, whereas Toby's car is able to cut in. Front end looks to be working really well.
Nice, easy power application. Look there at this battle for 9th. The Nissan, the 23 of Federo. Right behind him, the 21 of Brumman, then the orange entry of Uretsky, then Webster down to the inside of Uretsky. That was really tight.
Yeah, that entry to
and
turn
that's going to
7
give
just
Atwater
invites,
a run.
yeah. You can defend a little bit. You can see there Webster kind of taking the middle of the road, but he still loses the spot there.
Yep.
So Atwater gets a nice run out of 7 and takes that position away. Love this sector right here.
Oh, yeah.
Really great flow when the car's working well. If the car's not working well, it's a bit of a nightmare. But if you can ride the curbs a little bit, if the compliancy is in the suspension settings to work that, it allows you to straight line it a little bit more and trim some time away.
Let's see if Webster can do anything to Atwater down into the festival curves. Turn 1, nope, not quite close enough. You see that tire wall chicane. The rule as announced in the drivers' meetings was if you miss the actual turn 1, 2, but you go through that chicane, everything's good. The lap will be discounted, your time, but you're okay. if you blow both of them, then you've got to give back any positions, and the key word here was "and any advantage you gained," and you have to do it by one of the sector markers where they can actually monitor it. So it's a lot that these drivers got to be thinking of if they have a mistake in the festival.
Yeah, and I think the stewards are handling it really well. They're putting
Yes.
it more in the hands of the drivers to make sure they do the right things. But by the same token, as we see Grahovic closer than ever now on Schwartz.
Coming up about 1:15 away from halfway. No, check that. Sorry, about 6 minutes away from halfway.
Yeah, this is a pivotal race, I feel, in the championship chase this weekend here. I think for Grahovic, if he could have a really strong weekend and possibly beat Johan in both these races and walk away from here with the championship lead, that really changes things and puts the pressure back on Johan's shoulders, who had zero pressure, it seemed like, going into the last round of the championship at Sonoma.
And then got 0 points in that first race. And had to start at the back of the second one. Look at this scrum. Big lock up again by Federo. And this is what I was talking about. Do the chicane. It's tight.
It pretty much manages itself. As you can see there, he was in front of these cars, and now he's through there and right behind that whole pack. So as long as you take the chicane, it self-polices. If you go straight,
yes,
it's a tough one, though, to give up if there's no one else around you. You got a big track advantage in terms of shortcut. How do you know how much to give up? And they said, you know what, you don't have to give up the last 10th, though, as long as you show some
exactly
intent.
Yeah, take a look at it here.
Just feeling the heat just gets in there too deep.
It was clearly paying attention in the drivers' meeting. And a nice move there to take advantage as the 09 and Nitzkowski checked up to make sure he didn't get into Webster, and into the back of Federer and Webster. A beautiful job. Read it, ducked to the inside, and was able to get back a spot. Just taking advantage of another person's issues. And you got to do that sometimes. You see a little bit of that bodywork issue for the 94 of Chandler, and that's left over, I think, from that turn 5-6 incident.
Yeah. Oh, and he's
Big
in super
down.
deep there. Can he keep it together?
So far, wow.
That was impressive. I think that piece of bodywork's going to say adios here in a moment.
I think so. But that was a huge move on Capizzi.
Yeah, he kept that together well. Sometimes it looked like he may have missed his breaking point a little bit. You know, it's like, you know what, that works. That's my new breaking point.
Here's a look at his teammate, Cameron Evans, winner at Sonoma, sitting comfortable 6th spot right now. And now Chandler. And these two, they've been working the team, and Cameron Evans have been working on getting Chandler his license to race in Europe. They want to go do some VLN racing on the Nürburgring. And they said, we've got him licensed, so that's the plan. We're going to be heading over there. What an experience for a young up-and-coming driver to get some laps at the ring.
Better place.
Yeah, the Nordschleife.
There many decades ago, a couple of times. It's an unbelievable racetrack.
It's got to be.
Nothing like it.
Got to be. Oh, first time we've seen Toby show a little bit.
Yeah, and he's actually a bit further away to make that move than he's been in the past. So he's starting to get racy. Is what I like to see. I want to see him put the pressure on Schwartz. Get down to the inside. Rough him up a little bit. Easy for me to say.
Easy for you to say. Give him the chrome horn. Come on. As we sit here comfortably. But yeah, these are two of the very best too. I think this is going to be a fascinating duel.
It's not going to be easy because this racetrack does give you some racing room if you are being attacked or about to be overtaken. Just open up your hands a little bit and maybe run side by side through the exit of some of the braking zones.
In watching Johan Schwartz, he tends to turn in just a little bit earlier for turn 7, which runs him a little wider on the exit than Toby does. Just interesting dynamic. And from the pit crew's perspective, Ryan, what are you hearing?
Top two in the championship battle going at it on track. Eric Meyer overseeing the operation for Rooster Hall Racing. I know you're on the radio with both Johan and Steve. We'll focus on Johan first. He's got his mirrors full with the guy chasing him in the championship. What's he been saying to you?
He's just wanting to manage this gap for this race. You know, we're getting to be about the halfway point, and we want to make sure that we got enough for the end of the race. And so we're just managing the tires, managing the gap, and trying to keep it where we need to be.
And for Steve, I know this is an important race for him, being a Portland native. Had a great starting position, slipped back a little bit. What has he been saying?
So he was fighting with the car a little bit at the beginning, trying to get it up to temperature and everything, and all the pressure's right. And so he let Terry by just to let him go, and he'll get him back here hopefully by the end of the race, so we can have both cars on the podium today.
Appreciate the time.
Hey, not a problem. Thank you.
You know, Strymer has reeled Terry in, and we talked about that a few laps ago, and he's just parked right there. Getting back to what Eric was talking about, managing things for the latter half of the race, you need to have something to be able to race with at the end, but especially if there's a caution and you've overdriven the car and there's 10 minutes left in the race and your tires are rooted and the guys behind you have done a better job. That's all part of the dynamic, isn't it?
It is, but I think for Strymer, I think he had, I don't think he thought he'd be running in P4 at the first half of this race. So he's doing a great job. Just set his fastest lap of the race on his last lap, which is only 3/10 off of what Grahovic has done. So the pace is there. It just seems like Terry getting that track position early and is being difficult to get around. He's doing an excellent job. This is one of the best races I've seen Paul drive this year. So he's rebounded nicely, having gotten around the technical issues they were having with that race car earlier in the season.
It's pretty impressive here in looking at these laps. Remember, the fastest lap in this race establishes for these drivers where they start in race 2. And right now, the top 6 are covered by 0.4 of a second.
Yeah,
I mean,
importantly for Grahovic, he would have the inside line for the start tomorrow unless Schwartz can find something. They're still running very competitive lap times within a 10th or 2, so it's not inconceivable that Johan can still lay down the fastest lap of this race and get that pole position back for tomorrow.
Yeah, just saw there Strymer. He looked like he was a little more aggressive into the entry into turn 1, and it cost him in 2. From 2 out, Terry opened up almost immediately 3 to 4 car lengths, and that would seem to me to indicate that Strymer's got to adjust his approach into 1 to be able to pick the throttle up sooner, and 2 is again we watch Johan that early turn into 7 and running wider on the exit.
Well, I think everyone's got a different way of attacking that corner. I think also by turning in a little bit early, if you can make it work in terms of the lap time, it also deters opening up the door for your competitor who's behind you and just saying come on through.
Yeah.
So I think for the
After
leader,
you?
yeah, I think for the leader, it's got a dual purpose.
Yeah, but look at the margin here. I mean, going into turn 1, Strymer was literally on the rear deck of Terry, and it was the exit of 2 out where that gap appeared.
Oh, big catch. He was probably trying to ask a little bit too much to close that gap back down.
We are now officially into the second half of this 40-minute race.
What does Nimkov have here? We saw him get around Harlan Evans and moved up in that top 5 position. Can he catch Steve at this stage of the game?
Evans just set his best lap at a 22.9.
Really impressed with these Pirelli P0s running these sort of lap times. Past halfway in this race, he's Strymer there. Still a little bit slipping there. Looks like the front end has given up on him a little bit there in turn 4.
And one thing we have learned about Cameron Evans is the guy is really good at conserving tires. He's quick, and then late in the races, he just really can come after people. That time Nimkov a little bit of a wiggle through 7.
Look at the gap that Terry has established on Strymer now.
Well, like I said, it was got that run out of turn 2, and then when Strymer had that big slide through 12, that's really given Terry the break he needed.
Yeah, Terry laid his fastest lap of the race down on that last lap. He's only a 10th off of Grahovic's fast lap, so can Terry steal the pole position time away for tomorrow?
As we've said, he's never been short on pace.
That would be fun to watch because he's had a difficult season, so to bounce back here with a podium run potentially today and be up on the front row tomorrow.
Oh, Grahovic got a great run out of 2. That was just tough to make anything work into 4, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think that was a real move for a position there, just trying to rattle Johan a little bit, but I think it's going to take a bit more than that to get up on that rear bumper, I think.
I remember when we first started to come to this track, I don't want to say how many years ago because it's just depressing, but that first turn, it wasn't the festival tight 1-2, it was just sort of this high-speed little S chicane thing. And it really, as many problems as this new layout can cause on the starts of the races, it certainly does make it a much better passing zone.
It does. It does. You just got to treat each other with a little bit of respect when it suddenly gets 3 wide down there like we saw on the start today. Just getting through, there's a real funnel effect as Grahovic gets a great run through 10 and 11.
Yeah.
He can just flow through here and get that exit speed. I think Johan realized he's immediately moving to the middle of the road, trying to be proactive in terms of determining what his approach line will be down into that brake zone.
And that, it really does 2 things. One, you get moved over in case he decides, you know, Grahovic to try something inside, you give him less room. But it also, it tends to diminish a little bit the toe that Toby might be getting, right? If you shift over in a hurry.
Seems to me like Schwartz has got a little bit more straightaway speed. I mean, Grahovic was really close there coming off that final corner, turn 12, and really Johan seemed to gap him by about an additional car length by the time they got to the brake zone. So that'll certainly make Johan's task a little bit easier if he does have a little edge here.
Oh, Nimkov has gone around Strymer. So I wonder if Strymer's car has just gone off a little bit.
Certainly seemed to be that way. Yeah. We saw that slide coming off at turn 12. Now, Nimkov is off. Side by side here through turn 6. Look at Strymer, sets up really wide. He's just going to key on the exit, getting the power down early. Does he have enough run to get on his flank before they get to that brake zone?
No, Nimkov put that car right where Strymer was going to go. That was a nifty little piece of defensive driving, I think, by Nimkov. But look who now in that exchange has half the gap, Evans.
Yeah.
He is joining this fight, and he is quick. He is turning some, relative to these guys, he's turning some fast laps right now.
You said he's able to maintain his tires a little bit better, and certainly looks that way. His car looks really planted and balanced compared to the 2 in front that are starting to slip and slide a little bit.
So this is the battle for 4th. Strymer, or Nimkov holding it now, then Strymer, then Evans. Cameron looks a little bit to the inside, not close enough to really do much with it. And again, you see how quick Strymer is into there, and then he really loses time coming out.
Yeah, he's just controlling the slide, and I'd imagine inside the cockpit he's probably a little bit later getting back to the power as well, which affects your run down to the turn 4 brake zone. So easy to make a little mistake here and get out in the dirt. And as I said, the corner's still turning away from where the trajectory you're on.
Exactly. All right, well, we've been watching this great battle at the front. We've heard from the Schwartz pit. How about the Grahovic pit, Ryan?
Yeah, Alex Perry would be the guy to chat with. You're on the radio with Toby. He's been fast, has the fastest lap of the race so far. But the guy he's chasing in points is the one that's right in front of him at the windshield. How is he going to get by?
You know, Toby's sizing him up, figuring out where he's best, hoping at the end of the race he's got enough in the car to get past Johan, at least on the last lap, and stay ahead of him for past the finish line.
Given the point situation, does he have to be a bit more aggressive, trying to claw back a little bit with that 10-point deficit that he's facing right now?
I mean, we're halfway through the season. We're down by 10 points. The points gap between first and second per race is 8 points. So, I mean, if he finishes ahead of Johan, then it's a 2-point lead. So hopefully he can finish ahead of Johan this race.
Does he have a sense for where he might be stronger just yet?
He's got some ideas where he can pass him. He knows where Johan's better, so he's got to size him up and get there.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Just saw a little bit of rotation from the back of Grahovic for the first time. The car sliding just a little bit, and you got to wonder if inside the crew guy's head when Ryan asked that quote, you know, what can he, you know, what's he got to do to get by? You know, the guy's editing saying, well, he's sizing him up, but is he actually thinking, hey, punt him?
He's just got to put a little bit more pressure on. There's been a couple of times where he's been awfully close.
Yes.
And you just got to seize the moment without being too risky here. As I said, he's a very disciplined driver, has great pace. I wouldn't call him aggressive, though. So, and you get to know your competitors, Greg. So for Schwartz, he'll know that Toby's not a big risk taker.
Yes.
So that enables you to think, well, I don't have to get too defensive because he's not just going to pile it down the inside.
Yes, yeah, I was going to say, Toby is a great manager of the risk versus reward concept, isn't he? He really thinks big picture a lot. And sometimes, as you said, he can be almost too gentlemanly. Ooh, a little wide there by Johan.
That really cost him.
No.
He still had his hand straight and was back on the power early, just ran a little bit wide.
Now, when you're chasing somebody and you see them suddenly drop a little tire here, drop a little there, does that just get the grin going in the helmet?
Oh, for sure.
Like it is for Cameron right now?
Yeah, you're looking for any indicator right there. Nimkoff has taken off from this little battle a little bit, so he looks pretty safe there in the 4th position, but Strymer still, he's had a lot of battles here today.
Oh,
he was
sure
fighting with
has.
Terry with the cars in front of him. Now people are putting the heat on from behind.
Still Grahovic with the fast lap, not by much over Schwartz. We're talking, what, 500ths over Schwartz. Then it would be Terry, then Nimkoff, Strymer, and Evans.
Those few hundreds are critical. That'll give him the inside slot for tomorrow's start down at that festival curve for the first time. But can he come up with anything to get around Johan and get those very important points, the delta between 1st and 2nd, and close down that championship gap?
And just food for thought here. Terry running in the final podium spot, turned to 125.59 last lap. Nimkoff a 123.1. And the margin is, well, I'm going to watch for it here and see what it comes up as. But Nimkoff might have a shot at this yet.
It's just under 4 seconds, so it'll
Yep.
be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
But
it would be.
Terry just needs to stay focused, hit his marks if he's feeling a little bit of tire deg. There's that exit of turn 2 again that you're talking about, Greg, where Strymer just seems to be a little bit wider and maybe causing him a delay in getting back to power.
He just carries a lot of speed through 1 into 2, and then you can almost, you just sense it that he's waiting to get to the throttle.
I think this is good news for the championship in general in terms of Johan looked to be in complete control in the opening rounds of the championship, established that massive lead. That's been trimmed, but I think more importantly, I think this is the closest we've seen Grahovic in terms of really putting the pressure on Johan. So if he can do it here this weekend and maintain that, as his crew chief said, we're only halfway through this season, long way to go.
And you have to kind of wonder a little bit. I mean, Toby is the team manager for Classic BMW, along with being a driver, and at some events, Johan's margined that out a little bit, hasn't he?
Just seems like he gains about a car length down the straightaways, which for pretty much identical cars, some of that can be down to the rake of the car, but in terms of the aero performance, it should be pretty much matched car to car.
Yeah. But I was going to say, with Toby being the team manager, often there are races they'll field 5 cars. And here, it's just this one. And does that allow him to just focus a little bit more purely on his car, his setup, his driving, and the like? And
I think it's a great point. I mean, when you're multitasking, it's hard to just really be thinking about how can I make my race car a little bit better? Where can I look at data and see if I can find a little bit in my driving? And when he's marching around the paddock trying to get parts together and keep his cars all in line, that doesn't help him compared to someone like Schwartz, even though Schwartz has run the team as well to a certain degree.
Right. Yeah, but nowhere near to the degree, as you said, that Toby is. Nimkoff, last lap, 0.8 quicker than Terry, and he's now trimmed that margin down to well under 3 seconds. There's Terry coming in, there's Nimkoff, and then the Strymer-Evans battle, which I don't think is settled yet. Do want to point out for Johan that you see that big West Virginia University logo on the car, and once again continuing a great arrangement that they have with the university's engineering and SAE departments. Have a couple of automotive engineering students embedded in the team, and just a great program that they have. There's Terry. He has got to be, clearly he just looks like he's much more confident in what the braking is going to do on that car at this stage. And yeah, I think this could be the first time in a while he's really been smiling while he's been out there.
Well, with a race car, you want consistency. You want a platform that's going to give you the feel repeatedly. And if you're having brake issues, you just the car's not handling the same. I mean, the braking really sets up the handling of the car. You know, the platform and the rate control going into a corner. And if it's all over the map, it's hard to work on the setup. It's hard to get any consistency. See a yellow flag flying here for some reason. I'm sure if there's any debris on the racetrack or someone's had a bit of an off.
Yeah.
Oh, Johan there, real wide.
Yeah.
Look at Grahovic. This is where Johan's just able to stretch him. Doesn't really have to defend. You would think that Grahovic should be pulling up on him versus the other way when you're that close to the car in front. He is a little bit closer, looks to the inside. Wasn't a serious look, just I'm here. 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, this was that window we were talking about where you look at that line and it, you know, well off that apex curve, but you don't want to get too tight in that first corner. So you overrun turn 5. Boy, it's going to be a fun duel to watch to the end.
It really is, and this is where it gets super tricky. We talk about the discipline and the patience you have to display through that sector that we just went through watching the leaders. And particularly when the tire deck is a little bit higher and the tires are not giving you the grip that you had earlier in the race. That's where it's hard. If you just push it a little bit too much, you can have a little slip, and that's what Grahovic is hoping for from our leader. But so far, Johan has been absolutely on the money here today.
Watch here. A little tidier that time.
So Johan there just uses all of the road, right, almost running that left side up and over the curve at turn in. He's comfortable with those margins.
Well, part of that, too, is when you've got, I mean, a guy in essentially a virtually identical car, just in terms of setup differences, anything you can do to minimize any kind of scrub that robs you just that little bit of speed, you know, just open the wheel up. Nice exit that time by Johan. 5 to go. These guys are well clear. Everybody else, Terry has responded. That margin now is back up to over 3 seconds to Nimkov. And then Evans, there it is, glued to the back of Strymer here.
It's a great battle. He's got a really good run here. He may try and duck to the inside here into the brake zone. He's close enough. Strymer takes that inside line. Evans a little bit slipped there. Suddenly seeing that BMW starting to slide a little bit towards the end of the race.
Webster, by the way, just we've been following him a little bit. He's been able to work his way up past a couple more cars here and has cracked the top 10. So
Strymer there, real defensive there, middle of the road. Didn't want to give the opportunity.
Oh boy, Cameron got a run too, didn't he?
It's tough to do anything with it though.
Yes.
Just because of that subtle bend in the road here. You sit in the middle of the road, it's tough for someone to go left and really tough to go around the outside here. There's just nowhere to go with it.
As you can see, is the battle for the 5th spot here. Under 4 to go as these guys onto the front straight one more time.
Terry's responded nicely here in that 3rd position, just running really good lap times. Got that gap back up to 3.5 seconds over Nimkov.
I think he played it well. He knew we didn't have anything for those 2 guys up front, so I think he was managing tires for a little bit. Exactly so at the end of it, he'd have a faster car, and it certainly seems to be working for him. Now we'll see whether Evans able to do anything as we watch whether Grahovic able to do anything.
I feel this is such a critical moment in this championship, Greg. I know there's a lot of rounds to go, but I think to allow Johan to win this race and build that margin back up to 17 points will be tough.
Well, that's it, isn't it? If he wins at 17, if Toby wins, it's 3. I mean, that's significant swing. All right. Well, they're running laps in the 122s, so there's 2 laps to go.
I'm sure he's just frustrated just looking at this picture repeatedly as to why is Johan just stretching me that little bit down this front straightaway and really not giving me the opportunity, even if I get late on the brakes. Beautiful race so far by Johan Schwartz, though. It just has not missed a mark yet today as Toby's team looks on.
Yeah, and you're right. That's got to be frustrating because, you know, that's into probably the best overtaking area on the track, and if you lose, that's why turn 12 is so important. You get through there well. Oh, here goes Evans. Outside move in 2. And he's through. Strymer going to try and counter, and Evans covers it.
We'll still have all his supporters on their feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steve's been in a good little battle here today. Let's take a look at it. Down to the inside. Looks like they're going to go side by side through Festival.
Well, and Strymer gave him a lot of room.
Yeah, that was really nice racing between each other. Just might have been a slight touch there, but just hard racing.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So that's going to put Evans up into that 5th spot. Strymer 6th, Hull 7th, Capizzi 8th, Uretsky 9th, and Webster 10th. Meanwhile, Grahovic continuing his attack as the white flag comes out. This is it, final lap. This is what can he do?
Is he going to put it all on the line and surprise Johan here? I think if he had hassled him a little bit, that'd have him off his game a little bit, but he's as close as he's ever been. Once again, looks to the inside. Not quite close enough.
Nope.
I think I'd have been trying to do some of these moves a little bit earlier in the race, just so it just distracts Johan. Is he going to try something on me? A little bit sideways there by Grahovic. Turn 7. What does Johan do here as he comes through 6 and set up for that important brake zone? Middle of the road.
Toby swings, but boy, he lost a lot of real estate in that swing, didn't he?
Yeah, it's such a tricky corner to put together in your head as to what is the optimal line and gain that you can maybe have on your competitor in front by running that wider approach.
All right, into 10 and 11 last time. No mistakes for Johan. He's been so good out of 12. Toby's trying everything he can onto the front straight. It's as close as Toby's been. See if he can get any kind of a draft. Johan, all he can do is just keep her pinned at the line. Johan Schwartz, Rooster Hall, and BMW getting the win at Portland International Raceway in the 59th Rose Cup races, presented by Fast Life TV. In the TC category, here comes Paul Terry. And boy, he's got to be pleased with how that Nissan's working with that new brake package. Nimkoff, a great fighting race as well. And how about Evans, rounding out the top 5 in that Copart Bimmer World entry. That was a good duel. We talked about it was going to be a great duel, and it was.
Some great battling all the way through the field, including this one up front. Johan, beautiful drive. I think Grahovic had his measure here today in terms of pace.
Yep.
And I think if he got the track position, he may have been able to sneak away a little bit. We'll have to see how it plays out tomorrow when he'll start from the pole based on fastest lap here today.
Yep.
Good hard racing.
Absolutely. Johan, those yellow Sabel gloves, he always has them flying out. And he also, A&L BMW, just some great supporters for him, as Toby has classic BMW for that team as well. What a battle they put on at Paul Terry and the Paul Terry Trucking Nissan from Reardon, rounding out the podium. So from Toby's perspective here, just looking ahead to tomorrow, he's got the fastest lap. He'll start on the inside. He's got a lead coming out of 2, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm just very curious as to why Johan's car just seemed to have a slight straightaway advantage, because if you reverse the roles for tomorrow, and if Johan is as tight to Grahovic coming off that final corner, he looked like he should be able to pick up the draft and maybe make a move that Grahovic was not able to do today. So, you know, it's not warm enough today. I certainly don't believe there's any overheating issues on Grahovic's car. Otherwise, we'd have seen him ducking out of the draft to try and get some fresh air to the front of the cooling system on the BMW. So I don't think it was anything temperature related. It just seemed like Johan's car was just stretching him that critical bit down the front stretch.
Well, they certainly had that Rooster Hall BMW dialed for the key corner on this track, didn't they? Get out of 12. And he was able to do exactly that. Looking back, we talked about the top 5. Strymer, I'm sure, will be frustrated with a 6th place finish, especially after his seconds at Sonoma. Hull, Capizzi, Uretsky, and Webster round out the top 10 with Brumman, Nitzkowski, Federo, and Atwater completing the field. But what a great duel these top 2, Schwartz and Grahovic had, and Terry looking very, very strong as well. Here are the provisional results after the first 40 minutes of racing of this weekend. 7th round of the championship. And one of the things I love about this format is we get to watch him do it again tomorrow and see, all right, who's made an adjustment, who's figured something out that can really make some difference here. It's always it's a great chess match, isn't it?
It really is. It's wonderful to have that opportunity tonight to think about the setup, think about your driving a little bit. Johan, he'll be a happy camper. It's a tough weekend for that team at Sonoma, but he's rebounded just as you'd expect him to. He wants this championship in the worst possible way, and he knows he had a hell of a battle here today with Toby behind him.
Yeah, former Touring Car B champion, and we'd love to add Touring Car to that category as well. And yeah, there's that big smile. See if we can get down to Ryan Moraine. Ryan, you ready?
I sure am, Greg. Johan Schwartz is ready for the interview as well. Congratulations. That was quite the race. You had to earn that with Toby knocking on your back bumper that whole way.
Well, he was on me the whole time. I tell you, I enjoy it reminds me of the Whitmer days when he was behind me. We raced each other clean. It's always a pleasure to race with him. I got to thank A&L BMW. They're watching at the dealership back in Pennsylvania. And my family back at home, Karen, is doing a tremendous job on social media. The whole team, Rooster Hall and West Virginia University, the engineers that are coming in, Brent, Dan, Eric, the whole crew. I can't thank him enough, and obviously Todd and Michelle for making it happy. And I am glad to announce that Dan and Betsy Brown are doing great too. So it's a good day. And I had Derek out here visiting, who is a Special Olympic participant, who has said, you got to win for me. And I was thinking about him the whole race.
And it's a big win from a championship perspective as well. Big swing if Toby was able to get around you. Instead, you had that lead.
Yes. It was, like I said, the longest 40 minutes. And he was a little better on the right-handers. I was a little bit better on the left-handers. So I tried to take advantage of those when I could and get good through the left-handers. There's a little few left-handers here, more right-handers. So I was biting my tongue a few times in there, just kind of preserving those front tires.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That's interesting because turn 12's a right-hander.
Right.
But he apparently was carrying a lot of speed to the turn 10, huh? Mm-hmm. But it worked for him for sure. Yeah, great day. And did exactly what he needed to. Again, Toby Grahovic, just a joy to watch that man drive as well. And Ryan has found our second-place finisher.
Put on a show for us, Toby. I'm sure as Johan comes in to congratulate you that you would have liked a different view than the back of that BMW in front of you that entire race. But that said, it was awfully close. Where do you think you might be able to do something to get Johan tomorrow?
Well, luckily I got the fastest lap of the race, so I start on pole tomorrow. He starts next to me, so hopefully I can get the jump this time into one and hold him off like he held me off today. It was amazing racing with Johan today. I mean, this place is so tough to pass, but I tried everything I could and just couldn't find a spot. There's a couple times he almost made a mistake where I could get up next to him, but nothing that I can make stick without contact.
Well done today.
Thank you.
And that tells you everything about Toby. Nothing
Right.
I could make stick without contact.
Right.
He just doesn't race that way. So go back, take a look at some of the highlights. And again, Johan doing exactly what he needed to do. Way in the background, you see Chandler Hull make that great move that moved him up a couple of spots. And you can see that's where Strymer got swallowed up there by Grahovic. And then you can see Terry right alongside of Capizzi as they were heading down into turn 4 for the first time. But at the front, that's where things were settled. But Terry was just about to start lighting the fuse, wasn't he?
He really was. Just showed tremendous speed there on those opening couple of laps, getting that track position, withstood the pressure from Strymer, and then just brought it home. Little moment here, middle of the race.
Yeah, Chandler Hull getting a little wide, little ding to that left front corner, but gathered it up. And then this big moment here is Cameron Evans down, got inside of Steve Strymer going into one. Strymer very gentlemanly gave him enough room on the exit, and that moved Evans into the top 5. But at the end, Schwartz and Grahovic put together a great duel at the end, and Johan Schwartz came home the winner.